I don't give a damn what he says. We'll come back for a 9-figure payday. Not less. He's made that very, very clear to me. Not less. But for a 9-figure payday, he says 1 minute, he's retired. And then the next minute he says, but I am a businessman. He says that for a reason, and he's brilliant at marketing. He knows what he's doing. He showed up there at ringside, sitting right behind me for a reason. He wanted to be seen.
The Mayweather and Pacquiao, the pay-per-view business in boxing was starting to decline because they were teasing everyone with this fight. And the carrot of their big fight was keeping people buying their pay-per-views against lesser opposition instead of fighting each other. And when both sides noticed that interest started to wane, right? People were buying less and less. Then they fought each other. And the fight was so bad, it's crippled the boxing pay-per-view industry since then because people don't want to get ripped off. They felt they were ripped off. Now, here's the thing. The next fight, which is going to happen, it looks to me, just the business of it all, the next fight's going to do half the business of the first. That means 2 million plus pay-per-views at $100 a pop. Yes, it's going to be a 9-figure payday again, not just for Mayweather, but also for Pacquiao. And the same thing's going to happen. We already know. Pacquiao's going to attack, but not nearly like he used to. Mayweather's going to discipline him early with right hands, keeping Pacquiao honest. By the end of the fight, Pacquiao's going to complain that Mayweather didn't want to fight. Mayweather's going to say, well, why didn't he do something about it? And Floyd gets another decision, and everyone's out. Instead of 4.5 million people out $100, it's 2 million people out $100.
Question.
That's coming.
Question, and I defer to my man, and I can't emphasize this enough, y'all. Him and my man Dan Rayfield. Anything that I did positive when calling that fight, my first fight in my career Saturday night, is because of those two.
Not true, but go ahead.
It is true. Him and Dan Rayfield, they prepared me for the fight. I got a question for you in front of everybody. What if the pay-per-view went from $99 to $59?
Mm-hmm.
How much, I mean, doesn't that make it far more plausible if they were able to do that and were willing to do that?
Yeah, I think even if it was like 69 or 75 or whatever it is, I think there's a certain universe of fans who, if those two guys are fighting, they're going to buy it. But I think it's cut in half from the first fight. First of all, there's not the same pent-up demand. Second of all, the first fight was a stinker. And thirdly, I think everyone anticipates the next fight will look a lot like the first one.
As crazy as it sounds, I just think those 3 figures matter. I think if somebody's not thinking about $100, I don't think they notice much of a difference between the $69 and the $49. And as a result, they might buy the fight just as much because of that price.
To be perfectly clear, if you spend 60 or 75 and 2 million plus people buy the fight, that's one of the biggest pay-per-views of all time. So these two guys ain't going to hurt each other, right? I mean, they know that already. They're dance partners.
Way to get them going.
And
look at this.
It's going to do bigger business than any other fight in boxing.
All right, Joshua, way to get some boxing into the show. That's enough from Hollywood, Stephen A's favorite destination. First take on the road, honoring America's Heroes Joint Base Charleston. It's my favorite part of the show, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for Mollywood. So that's when Stephen A. and Max no longer are in control, and you all get to take over and dictate the debate. We ready to do this?
Well, so they believe.
Oh, yeah. They're in control. Give them tough ones, all right, guys? And we're starting here with Davis Moore, senior airman from Georgia. So you're a Falcons fan. Matty Ice for MVP?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Wow.
That is right.
A lot of people are liking that down here. We are in the South. You have a question for Max, I hear.
I do. So with the Bears riddled with injuries, what do they have to do to save the second half of their season?
There is no second half of the Bears season. As a matter of fact, I've heard the NFL is considering maybe the Bears don't even play the second half of the season. They got at best the 3rd best quarterback out of 4 in the division. You're dealing with Aaron Rodgers and Stafford, who's also having an MVP caliber season, and the Vikings defense. You're 2-6. They are done, finished. And Jay Cutler's supposed to get you to the promised land. They're finished.
Well, that's the operative word that he used, the name. You talk about what the Bears have to do, right? And you mentioned the Chicago Bears. That's the team you talk about, right?
Yes, sir.
And their quarterback's Jay Cutler, right? How about get rid of Jay Cutler?
So disrespectful.
It ain't that complicated. Some people are like, some human beings are actually really black cats running around contaminating stuff. That's Jay Cutler with the Chicago Bears.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Stephen A., I would not want you as my boss. I would be scared.
You should be. You should be if I was anybody's boss. You have to produce.
He would run a dysfunctional franchise.
Oh, boy, here we go. Save the election talk for tomorrow,
I'm a
folks.
George Steinbrenner fan, God rest
With
his
us
soul.
now, Staff Sergeant Andrew Ferenchek from Pennsylvania, an Eagles fan. You got a question for Stephen A.?
Yes. Ben Roethlisberger struggled in his return against the Ravens. Should he have played?
No, I don't think he should have played. I know it's Steelers-Ravens rivalry. He desperately wanted to get back for that. But considering that knee injury that he suffered, that's not the team to come back against. It's always fierce. You know they're going to be in your face. You know it's going to be a tough defensive battle. And more importantly, you've got an additional 8 games to look forward to. I don't think that's something he should have jeopardized. And not only that, he's never successful. He's rarely, rather, I should say never, rarely successful when he comes back from injury. He doesn't have a good record under those circumstances. As much as I don't believe in Landry Jones, who had the audacity to tell Steelers fans no need to panic when Ben Roethlisberger went down as if he was going to make a difference, as much as I don't like him, I still believe he should have been the one out there getting beat up yesterday instead of Big Ben Roethlisberger.
The answer is no. He should not have played. And although, because it was the Ravens, that's a good reason to play. It's a rivalry game. And I give Russell Wilson a lot of credit this year. In fact, with like 5 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, I think Russell Wilson should be in the MVP conversation because his team is 4-2-1. And a lot of that's because he's out there on the field. He's not producing always the numbers, but he's leading out there on the field. And so that's a good argument for why Roethlisberger should play. But you saw how bad it was yesterday. And it was against a pretty good defense, and you're risking injury. So the way, and by the way, Antonio Brown, for what they were charging for him on daily fantasy, I expected more than 21 points. That really hurt me.
He loves daily fantasy.
That's right. The point is, no, there's an example where it's great that he gives it his all. You expect nothing less from Roethlisberger to try to be out there for the rivalry game, but especially in retrospect, that was a mistake.
Staff Sergeant, thank you so much. Up next, oh, that one was personal for Stephen A. So is this, because we have Staff Sergeant Tyler Phipps here, and he's a Cowboys fan.
Oh yeah, go Cowboys! How about them boys?
America's team, amongst America's people.
Are you from Texas?
Louisville, Kentucky.
He's from Louisville, and he's got a question for you, because he likes your boy.
Kentucky, and
Yeah.
you're a Cowboy fan.
Max,
Yeah.
can you see Louisville making the college football playoffs over an undefeated Washington team?
Absolutely. By the way, I don't understand how Louisville's being slept on. You have a guy who's already won the Heisman Trophy about 11 times this season. I mean, there's no one else should even be in the conversation. They have one loss. The one loss is to Clemson on the road because the receiver didn't see the first down marker, or else, let's face it, they win that game. And that's going to keep them out of the college football playoffs. The whole reason we have a playoff now is because a team like Louisville in the past may have been DQ'd from it because of one loss. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. Let's make sure that the best teams are playing each other. And Louisville has absolutely so far shown that they're the best team. Now, well, they shouldn't have been down to a team they should have been beating anyway. But then what happened when the chips were on the line? Lamar Jackson, as usual, came through and won the game. They should absolutely be in the playoff, and if it started today, I'd want them in.
Max is wrong, but what else is new? Here's the deal. Louisville's a damn good team, and Petrino should be commended. Lamar Jackson is big time. He's right about that with the Heisman. But this is the reality. This ain't college basketball where there's an NCAA tournament. You know when you go into each week what is on the line. Louisville didn't get it done against Clemson. It ain't Washington's fault that that's not on their schedule, that they ain't playing Louisville or somebody else. Washington stomped Stanford. They go on the next week and drop 70 on Oregon. They go to Utah and beat a ranked Utah team. Whatever has been in front of their face, they have handled. And on top of it all, because I cannot understand for the life of me how this man doesn't use the eye test with those eyes of his. I don't get it. But here's the deal. If you are...
The sun bothers the baby blues.
If you are... The sun's bothering... Put your glasses on. Sun's bothering you. Here's the deal. If you are the Washington Huskies, the eye test with the job that Peterson is doing, they're clearly one of the elite teams in college football. We've got Michigan and Ohio State that's going to go against one another. There's a legitimate argument that one of them may not make it. One of them might not make it. I've got to consider them before I consider Louisville, and I would love to see Louisville in it because I love Lamar Jackson. But the reality is that losing that game to Clemson, you knew what was on the line. And by the way, Clemson's in the same conference. You knew what you had to do, and you didn't handle your business. You didn't handle your business.
It used to be the regular season in college football was a single, maybe a double elimination tournament. And it's not supposed to be that way anymore, but apparently it still is for a lot of people.
7 TDs against BC, 45-point win. Incredible. Thank you so much. Senior Airman Trey Williams, rough night for you last night. You're from Denver, Broncos fan?
Yeah, it was rough. Don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. He told me earlier he low-key cried, but he didn't want to say that on national TV. Who is your question? Who is your question for?
Both of you guys, actually. Charles Barkley recently said Klay Thompson was the second best overall player in the NBA. I want your thoughts, and then who will you have in that position?
I don't recall him saying the second best overall player. I thought he said the second best overall guard, shooting guard. But neither, whatever the case may be, Klay Thompson
It was overall player.
is one of the elite shooters this game has ever seen. No question about it. And he plays on both ends of the floor, so he deserves our respect. But second best player, no. When I think about the top